Yeah, so I think pretty exciting. So one more thing on DA side. So one is the Rollup, but then Validium itself is a very interesting proposition. And if you see Volition, which is a mix of Rollup and Validium, where you can have a decision based on whether what part of the data needs to be off chain versus on chain. So and we are seeing some interesting use cases, especially use cases which are driven towards enterprise space or enterprises themselves looking at rollups. They do require some kind of privacy and either resort to their local DA or a DAC kind of model where they can create a small consortium. So what do you think about Validium and Volition?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the idea behind doing off-chain data is definitely like a revolutionary one. My big concern is doing this in the most decentralized way possible. So people when I think that there's a clear difference between rollups and volitions and validiums that should be expressed. I think L2s is a fine concept or is a fine terminology to kind of expand all of these different types of chains. But generally, the way that I look at it is it's always a trade-off between decentralization and scale. And so whichever one we can find where is most decentralized, but also gives us an ample amount of scale, I think that's kind of where we end up always landing as an industry. And so from my perspective, whatever the most ethos aligned of crypto as a whole in terms of don't trust, verify, whatever off-chain data source that we can have to scale rollups that also embodies that kind of sentiment and that ethos. I think that's something that I'll stand behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you take an example of we have quite a few customers in the healthcare space. Or let's say you want the anonymized data, the transaction data to be on chain, but at the same time, the PII data, which is governed by data compliances, need to be off chain. So that kind of combination you do require in a lot of use cases, right? And within the native space as well, there are set of data that we believe is cannot be kept private when we talk about a public chain ecosystem. Now, those use cases can also be built. And I think quite a few use cases people could not believe that they could do on public blockchain just because, there was no way where you can have just a part of the data, maybe 5, 10% or 20% of the data, which may come into the purview of data compliances to be outside the on-chain ecosystem, right? So that I think, I believe Volition is a very interesting concept that will enable